What's going on, Alabama fans? Chris Daughtry back with you guys here on the Alabama Football Report by Chat Sports. Usually after Alabama games, where we usually do overreactions, and we're kind of going to do overreactions here on today's show. But for the most part, it's just kind of talking points that I've seen out there, maybe some question marks that I've had for this Alabama team as they end their 2025-2026 season here with a loss to Indiana. Some of them, like I said, are going to be overreactions. And the first one we'll talk about today is going to be an overreaction here. Saw it a lot in our live stream last night saying, fire everybody, fire Keelon DeBoer, fire Kane Womack, fire Ryan Grubb. It's just nonsense. This is not a, failure of a season, getting to the college football playoff quarterfinals, getting to the Rose Bowl. You lost to the number one team in the country, and I understand Indiana isn't a team that we all think as the number one team in the country, but look, they were. They absolutely went out there, and they have pretty much dominated everybody. I get it. You probably, if you're going to lose that game last night, you wanted it to be a little bit closer than it was, but just flat out wasn't. And if there's one thing that I have, some opinions about, it is Ryan Grubb's play calling. I just, I'm not a football coach. I'm not somebody that's going to come out here and say, you should have done this instead of that. But there were definitely things in that game last night where I just didn't understand. I guess I'll just, leave it at that. I get it. You got out to Indiana, got out to a early lead in this game. They were leading 17-0 at halftime, but still, you take all the quarterback runs out of the equation here. Your running backs only got the ball 8 times last night. I don't understand that. And that was a constant theme all year long where Ryan Grubb just simply would, get away from the run game. And, he can talk all he wants about we got to stop these, first quarter shenanigans or whatever. But when you only give the running backs the ball 8 times in the entire game, that's kind of on you. I don't understand the 4th down play call there. You got a 240-pound running back in Daniel Hill, and you line him up at the Wildcat, and you don't let him just push forward and get 1 yard there. This is Alabama, man. You run the frickin' ball. You line up and you get a push, and you pick up 1 yard. If you can't pick up 1 yard at Alabama, you probably shouldn't be here. If there was any issues I had last night was with Ryan Grubb's play calling, and there were some things all year long that people had issues with as well. And I saw people saying, fire Ryan Grubb. I just don't think that's going to happen either. I do think he was underwhelming as a play caller this year. I do not think he, held up to the expectations that we had for him this year, but he's a Keelon DeBoer guy. Keelon DeBoer's with him. I don't think Ryan Grubb's going anywhere anytime soon unless, some other job, comes his way. So I want you guys to get down to the comments. Grade Ryan Grubb's play calling versus Indiana. Let me know what you guys think. A, B, C, D, or F. You can be brutally honest down inside the comments section, but let me know down at the pinned comment of today's show. Overreaction number 2. I saw this a lot down in the chat last night as well. It is Keelon Russell time. Maybe. I'm not going to sit here and say that, I think it's definitely Keelon Russell time. I get it. Everybody's got the hype right now for Keelon Russell. But for one, Keelon Russell didn't go in the game last night. You had Austin Mack go in the game as quarterback too. And to be completely honest with you right now, I'm more interested in what the future holds here for Ty Simpson. Is he going to go to the draft? Is he going to hit the transfer portal? Is he going to stay here at Alabama? He ended up getting injured last night on that play where he ended up fumbling, got hit in the back, and ended up breaking a rib. They did some X-rays at halftime and confirmed that he ended up breaking a rib there. That's kind of why you saw Austin Mack going into the game there in the second half. And I don't think Austin Mack played awful. I don't think he played necessarily great either. But I am still interested to see here what happens with Ty Simpson. I'll be completely honest with you guys. I get it. You're excited about Keelon Russell. But I wouldn't scoff at the idea of Ty Simpson coming back either. I think if he just had another year under his belt, as the starting quarterback, I think he would play fine. But, I do think there is also a question mark of, the numbers, basically. You would have, 5 quarterbacks at that point there, Ty Simpson, Keelon Russell, Austin Mack, and then the two guys that you got in this year's class as well in Jet Tamala and Tate Kawa. So you would have a lot of quarterbacks in that quarterback room at that point there. But I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see. Right now, I'm just, interested to see how or what direction Ty Simpson goes now that the season is over. Now, Ty Simpson was at one point, the favorite to go number 1 in this year's NFL draft. It was him and Fernando Mendoza. At this point, I don't even know if Ty Simpson will go to the NFL draft. But let me know what you guys think. What does Ty Simpson do at the end of the season? Is he going to declare for the draft? Is he going to stay at Alabama? Or is he going to hit the transfer portal? Let me know what you guys think. Overreaction number 3, the run game sucks. It was very bad. And not just in this game. It was all season long. And I think you have to attribute some of that to Ryan Grubb just getting away from the run, just constantly running away from it. No pun intended there, I guess. The running backs weren't necessarily great this year, and the offensive line wasn't really good. I think one thing that you have to kind of take into consideration when it comes to the run game is the, type of athletes that they have along the offensive line right now. They got 2 recruiting classes now under their belt, and they are trying to kind of revamp the offensive line. And you do have a lot of guys along the offensive line who are out of eligibility that we'll get to here in just a little bit as well. But Jam Miller also out of eligibility as well. You got E.J. Crowell coming in as that, 5-star coming in. Can he make a, meaningful contribution to this Alabama run game next year? I certainly hope so, because this year was downright pitiful when it came to the run game. And for everybody that had those questions about the run game, and, including myself, it just was not good enough all season long. All right, we'll continue with some more rumors and overreactions here in just a second. But first, we want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show. It's Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine or making player picks for the first time, trying something new can be hard, but in life and on Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure playoff matchups every single weekend, especially now with the professional football playoffs about to happen here, you got elite hoops action almost every single night. The action never stops, and Prize Picks lets you take control. On Prize Picks, how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play where you can get paid even if one of your picks misses. But if you're super confident in all your picks and want the biggest payouts, go for the power play. Because no matter how you play, Prize Picks is a great way to put your takes to the test. So what we got cooked up for Week 17 here. This is a playoff game, basically, for the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Going to go with Derrick Henry, more than rushing yards for him. Really seems like he's started to, come into a stride here last couple of weeks for the Ravens. So we're going to go with, we're going to go with the more than on rushing yards for him. Also going to go with more passing yards for Aaron Rodgers. And then Zay Flowers going to go with the more than for him. Only needs a half rush plus receiving touchdown. So de facto, just a half touchdown there for Zay Flowers. You can get in on the action. Prize Picks is now available in all 50 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. So download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That link is going to be down in the comment section and the description of today's show. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now, like we mentioned a second ago, there are a lot, 16 actually, Alabama players who are out of eligibility, and I do think thanks are in order for these guys, just their contributions to this Alabama team. Now, unfortunately, you're going into 2025 now. You haven't won a national championship since 2020, so maybe there's a couple of these like 6-year guys that I'm kind of just blanking on right now, but I don't think unless Tim Keenan came in I don't even think Tim Keenan, and maybe Deontay Lawson. I'm not quite sure. I don't think any of these guys have finished their Alabama career with a national championship. Jam Miller, unfortunately a down season for him, was very unhealthy for the majority of the season. One of my favorite players on this team, Josh Cuevas, really going to miss him at that tight end spot. Germie Bernard, love Germie Bernard, coming over from Washington with Kalen DeBoer. Jaden Roberts, he's a fan favorite, I think, a lot. We called him the Hulk a lot last season. Just unfortunately was not really his year this year. Tim Keenan, LT Overton, Geno Vandermark played a lot of meaningful snaps for Alabama over the past couple of seasons. Your three starting linebackers this year are all out of eligibility. Justin Jefferson, Deontay Lawson, Nakai Hill-Green. So, you saw some of those guys, Caden Jones, QB Reese, play at the end of last night's game. Damani Jackson had a big season for Alabama last year. Unfortunately, this year kind of lost out those starting reps to, Deshaun Lee, but still future bright there at that cornerback spot for Alabama. Deshaun Jones, Blake Dowd, also all out of eligibility there. So I just want to kind of have a little bit of a bright spot here. Thank all of these guys for their contributions here to Alabama. I want you guys to get down to the comment section. Some really guys that bleed, crimson here for Alabama. So get down there, type your TYs. Thank these guys for everything that they did here for the Crimson Tide. All right, last talking point, overreaction here, I guess we'll call it, whatever you want to. Alabama's got to improve. I think Kalen DeBoer knows that. I think the coaching staff knows that. I think the players on this team know that. I think the two down points for me anyways this year was the run game was bad all year, and the offensive line really wasn't great either. They just couldn't get anything going consistently. I thought they played a little bit better when Wilkin Formby went in there to that right guard spot, and then Michael Carroll was there at that right tackle spot, but overall still wasn't really enough to make that big of a difference. Things got to improve overall. I thought overall the defense this year was, pretty good. Late in games, they kind of struggled. Obviously, in the game versus Indiana, they just simply could not stop the run. But overall, quarterback play's got to be better as well. Whoever that does end up being for Alabama, play calling has to be better. They know it. We all know it. This team's just got to improve as they go into the 2026 season.